guys aren't here to talk about iPhones. I know what you want. I know what you guys want, and it's not this. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the new Mac Studio. I wouldn't say that any of us were necessarily expecting. We were expecting a Mac Mini Pro, right? And that's essentially what we got. But I was not expecting a machine of this caliber to be released. I mean, this is the machine that I've been talking about for ages, and I never thought we would actually get it. Right down to like, it actually has USB-A ports, which you all made fun of me for years and years and years. You said that Apple would never do it, and you know what? You got me to believe you. I had actually given up hope, Lewis. I'd completely given up hope, and I was resolved to live a USB-C Thunderbolt 4 life. And here we are with actual USB-A ports. But I'm stealing your thunder, Leander. I'm going to let you take it away and tell us all about the Mac Studio, because you purchased one too. So this will be interesting because we got different models.
It's interesting because it's actually the Mac Mini Pro, but also the Mac Pro Mini. And I was actually wondering whether the rumors got mixed up, with this, because it fits both those descriptions, doesn't it? Anyway.
Yeah, it does. Although I do think that this leans more towards Mac Mini Pro and not Mac Pro Mini, because I think the Mac Pro Mini might still be modular, and this is like a sealed up appliance, hermetically sealed.
I see. Yeah. Well, that's something I want to discuss afterwards. This modularity, which they talked about. Anyway, so Apple on Tuesday gave us this first glimpse at its brand new Mac Studio. Its first desktop featuring the M1 Ultra chip. It's bigger than a Mac Mini, but smaller than a Mac Pro, and it's the most powerful machine Apple has built to date. It's the M1 Ultra chip makes a Mac Studio twice as fast as a high-end MacBook Pro, with a 20-core CPU, 64-core GPU, and 128 gigabytes of unified memory, and it's still amazingly power efficient. So like the Mac Mini, the Mac Studio is squeezed into a surprisingly small aluminum enclosure that fits beneath most displays. So the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra is up to 60% faster than a 28-core Mac Pro in processing and up to 80% faster in graphics, even when the Mac Pro is packing its most powerful GPU option. It packs up to 128 gigabytes of unified memory RAM, plus 32 neural engine cores. 32 neural engine cores, wow, and a 2x faster media engine. So on the back, there's a whole bunch of connectors. Like Irfan said, there's 2 USB-A ports. There's 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, a 10 gigabit Ethernet port.
Nice.
Is
save.
it gigabit?
It's gigabit, yeah. Nice save. Nice save.
Power connector, HDMI, and a high impedance headphone jack. The base price for the Mac Studio is $2,000, which is what I spent, versus $4,000, which is what Irfan spent, or more.
I spent more.
With the M1 Ultra. And
baby.
I was all hot under the collar for this, but the machine, I think, this, what this actually is? This is the relaunch of the Cube.
Yeah.
The Power Mac Cube.
Yeah.
And it makes the same mistake. It's like a sort of high-end mid-range, like a mid-range machine, and it makes the same mistake, but it makes the same tragic mistake as a Cube.
Oh, you
think
it's
it makes the
tragic?
same mistake again. Well, it's not upgradable after the fact. You can't upgrade the RAM. You can't upgrade the internal storage unless you bust it open and, void your warranty.
Yep.
And you can't put any kind of internal components in it.
Yep.
And this is, I think, ultimately what doomed the Cube, because it was aimed at pros, but it wasn't expanded in the way that pros wanted to expand it. So, I know that you can get a lot of external hardware now that plugs in versus the Thunderbolt ports that will perform almost as well as like an internal component. But, I think it's still making that same mistake again, I think, even though I will probably never, I bought an iMac a few months ago, and I bought it with too little RAM. I made the huge mistake. I got the low-end RAM configuration. The RAM is just not enough to make the machine usable, and I'd love to upgrade it, but I can't. I'm stuck with it.
Yeah, I get that sentiment, but I think we're living in a new era where people are used to the fact that they can't upgrade their stuff. It's just hermetically sealed. And if you open it, an alarm goes off in TC's office and he sends out the white jackets to come get you. And so I don't think that people are going to care that much about
You don't think people care anymore?
No, I don't. I mean, I am the guy that likes to upgrade my components. I'm broadcasting from the Cult Commander right now, which is a 16 core AMD powered PC. And I do upgrade the components occasionally, but not as often as you would think, because technology moves so fast that by the time you want to upgrade a component, like 2 to 3 years, the motherboard architecture has changed, the chip architecture may have changed, and so you have to upgrade everything anyway. The only thing that you can really reliably upgrade without changing out your entire computer is the GPU. And so with PCs, like, you can upgrade the GPU, but GPUs are so hard to come by that I don't really do it that often anyway. So would I like the ability to do it? Yeah, but it's definitely not a deal breaker for me anymore. I think more than anything else, and I wonder if a lot of people are in the same boat as me, I just need it to work. At this point, I don't want to fuss around with it anymore. I mean, I bought my Mac Studio spec'd out to the degree where it's going to last me 2 to 3 to 4 years, right? It's already way beyond anything that I'm going to be doing. Like, I was joking. I was like, maybe I should upgrade my YouTube videos to 4K now. I was like, this thing can do 85 streams of 8K at one time. And so it's way over architected for what I need. And as long as it's reliable and it helps me create some good content on my dead YouTube channel that I'm about to revive, then I'll be happy with that. And I think a lot of people are kind of in that same boat. They don't really care about upgradability. I mean, look at the Mac Pro. Like, the Mac Pro is dead and it's upgradable.
Yeah, right. Well, I know that Phil Schiller talked about this a few years ago. Like, they did surveys of customers. I can't remember what issue he was talking about, but they found that I think 2% or something really, really low of people upgraded their RAM, put more RAM in. Like, almost nobody upgrades, like you said. And I think they did these surveys and they found out that there's only a small number of customers that are actually interested in this. And you might be right. Times have changed. You can get these external GPUs now, right? These boxes, can't you? They're pretty amazing. That went around when the Cube came out. So I don't know, maybe it's moot. I mean, I'm quite happy with it, actually. I don't really, like you said, I don't want it to be upgradable. I'm sorry. I'm probably unlikely to upgrade. I'm actually probably, even though I complain about it, I'm probably actually quite unlikely to actually upgrade it. And of course, I made the mistake of this time around, I got actually a whole bunch of RAM. So I didn't make the same mistake of skimping on the RAM this time.
Okay, so let's get into which ones we both got and why. So you got the M1 Max version. How much RAM did you get?
64, I think.
Oh, you went with 64. You know what?
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Maybe it's what is the maximum RAM you can get in it?
You did not get the maximum for the M1 Max is 64. So you couldn't have gotten 128, and that would have been so massively overkill for what you do. Although, caveat, it would allow you to live the dream that you've always wanted to. You have 185,000 tabs open at one time.
Tab
and you
master.
You can just tab master around, boop, 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 and you're just living your best life. Nothing's crashing, nothing's slowing down. So maybe you should have gotten the Ultra. So the Max you could have gotten at 64 gigs. I'm going to guess you went with 64. That is. So I have a 32 gig MacBook Pro, 2019, and even editing huge timelines full of content in Final Cut Pro, I don't think I ever get past 20. So I ended up going with 64 because that was what was available in the base model. But before we get to me, so why did you decide to go with the model that you went with?
Well, because I was thinking about the review, when we're going to get a review out. So I started clicking around. Like, I was going to order the Ultra chip because I think that's what people are going to be interested in. Yeah. But the shipping time's already slipped into April. And then I was looking at I was thinking, well, maybe I could pick one up at the store on launch day, and we could do a review about that. But in the end, I thought, well, what the heck? When I was clicking the different options, the one that shipped the quickest was the low end machine, and I thought, well, that'll do. We can do a review about that. A lot of people, I think, will be interested in the low end machine rather than the high end machine. It'll just have to do. So that's why I made those choices, really. Plus, it's a machine I'm going to be using myself personally. I'm going to retire the iMac, and I don't need the Ultra chip. I mean, that's crazy. But answering some emails and using Slack.
Yeah. I think you might be right.
There's no way. I don't need that kind of power. It's absolutely madness. So the low end chip is going to be perfectly fine for my needs.
So check this out. This is one of the reasons why I thought the Mac Studio was such an impressive machine. Aside from all the I/O, which I'll go into in just a minute here, but if you got the exact same specs, so let's say you wanted to get the M1 Max with 10 cores, 32 core GPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, The MacBook Pro with those specs would cost you $3,500. And the Mac Studio for the exact same specs is only $2,400. Now, I know it's not a one-to-one comparison because you're not going to get the mini LED screen with the MacBook Pro. You're not going to get the portability or the keyboard because you got to buy a keyboard with the Mac Studio. It doesn't come with a keyboard. That's way their profit margins are way too low on the Mac Studio to give you a keyboard. You got to buy one of those. But if you already have a keyboard that you like, and a lot of people do, if you already have a screen that you like, and a lot of people do, then you can get the same computing power of the 3500 MacBook Pro, 16-inch MacBook Pro, for $2,400. So that's a crazy good value, right? And I thought about doing the same thing, but I just couldn't do it. And I want to give a very special thank you to a close personal friend and also a CultCast listener who offered me a discount on this stuff, which really helped a lot and made me kind of really just go for it. So I was trying to spec this whole thing out and figure out which Mac Studio I wanted. And I ended up going with the M1 Ultra with 48 cores, not 64 cores, because the 64 core price increase is ridiculous. It's $1,000 to go
really?
from, it's $1,000 price difference to go from 48 cores to 64 cores, and that most people are not going to realize any increase in performance because on a MacBook or on a Mac, you're rarely limited by the number of GPU cores. So I think the sweet spot is 48 cores, where you get, instead of the 2 ProRes encoding up and down encoding engine, you can get 4. You also get, instead of 400 gigabytes of memory bandwidth, you get 800. So you get the benefits of both chips and the performance of all the additional features that you get from doubling the features of both chips without paying that premium for the extra cores that you're probably not going to use anyway. Unfortunately, they make you buy 64 gigabytes of RAM with that, which I think it's just Apple just trying to justify their price increase from the M1 Max to the M1 Ultra. Because if you think about it, like the M1 Max is a $2,000 Mac Studio machine, right? But if you go from the M1 Max to the M1 Ultra, the price doubles, and all you're getting is an extra M1 Max chip. Well, how is that an extra $2,000?
I know, yeah. Killian wrote a good piece about that, sort of like questioning it, and there was actually it caused up a bit of a stir because he was pointing out, you're paying $1,000 for an extra chip. I'm sorry, $2,000, $2,000. You can get 2 of the machines I bought for the cost of one machine that you
Exactly. I mean, it's just such a cash grab. It's just Apple saying, well, do you want the performance in one machine or not? And the price increase is absurd. Because if you also look, if you want to go from the M1 Max with 24 cores to the M1 Max with 32 cores in the Mac Studio, it's a $200 price increase. But on the Ultra Mac Studio, it's $1,000 price increase. Do the exact same thing. And they're giving you 2 chips, right? So you would think that the price increase would be $400, which would be in alignment with what they charge you to increase the cores on the M1 Max with the or the Mac Studio with the M1 Max. But no, it's just way more expensive because they know they can do it and people are going to pay it. So that's the one that I got.
How much did it end up costing?
I think the total, I got 2 terabytes of SSD because the SSD is so fast. It's like, and when you're editing 4K content, it's nice to have everything local. And you can't get an external SSD that comes anywhere close to how fast the Mac Studio's SSDs are. They're the same speed as the new MacBook Pro, like 7.4, I think, gigabytes a second or something. You can't even get anywhere close to that with external SSDs. So I'm like, it's worth it to upgrade that. And
how much did that cost? Actually?
I think it was an extra like $400. $400, I think. And then I got a discount. So I think my entire purchase. Let's see here. I'll do the math. I think the actual retail value was like $4,400, and I think I got mine for $3,300. So
that's a nice discount.
It was a big discount.
Wow.
It was a big discount. It was big. It was a big discount. So my love and appreciation to all the listeners. I've had a lot of people offer me discounts on Apple stuff, which I really appreciate because it helps. It really does. Like if I didn't have the discount, I probably wouldn't have gone ham. And I like going ham, so it really helps out a lot. And the other thing.
So what are you going to do with your old MacBook now?
I'm going to sell it. I'll probably
How much
sell.
did you get for it?
I was looking on eBay, $2,000, $2,000 for that machine. It's 3 years old.
And how much you pay for it?
I think I got a discount on that one too. So I think I paid maybe $2,900 for it.
But it was worth what? How much would it have paid if you hadn't got a discount?
Oh,
like 35.
It would have been like no, it would have been like $4,200, $4,300.
So it's kind of halved in price.
It was
Which I guess
so. I got a 25% discount on that one.
Yeah, but I just sort of think it's devalued. It's halved in price since it came out, right? 3 years ago.
Yeah. Which, if you think about, is pretty crazy that you can use a computer for 3 years and then sell it for half the price that you bought it for. Like that does not happen in the world of PCs. And it looks brand new too. And it's still a great machine. It's Intel based, but it's still an incredibly powerful machine. And honestly, it's probably all that I really need, but it's not all that I want. So I had to do it.
What do you think about the form factor of the Studio?
I love it. There's nothing
you like
about
the way it
this.
looks?
There's nothing about this machine that I don't love. I've said before, I want a Swiss Army knife of a computer, and this is that. I mean, Apple literally gave us everything that I could have wanted. They have 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the front, or on the back, excuse me. 2 on the front if you get the M1 Ultra. Otherwise, they're USB-C ports. And let me bring this up so people can look at the I/O. You get a 10G Ethernet port, and they don't even bother making you upgrade it. It's just 10G. That's all you get, which is exactly what I was hoping for. You get 2 USB-A ports on the back. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Everyone sing with me. I mean, who saw that coming? You get an HDMI connector, okay. And this was a small detail that people haven't really mentioned very much, but it's not just a headphone jack, it's a high impedance headphone jack, which means you can use it with like your high-end headphones. And that was just like one of those small touches that you didn't expect, but it made the machine just that much better. And then on the front, you get the SD card slot like right there on the front, so you can offload all your media there. And then you get the insane power of the M1 Ultra. And people are comparing the GPU performance of the M1 Ultra to the new NVIDIA 3090, which you can't even buy it because they're not even available anywhere. And that's an insanely powerful chip that costs, or an insanely powerful GPU that I think costs $1,500. So.
And how does it compare?
Well, the comparisons.
Favorably?
Yeah, like basically saying that they're pretty much parallel in performance, which is totally nuts.
Yeah.
So
bonkers.
I don't think the price for what you get is actually that outrageous, because this machine is so incredibly powerful, and it basically is their most powerful machine at this point. And it just has everything that I possibly could have wanted. Like I said, there's just nothing about it.
Well, people have been waiting. It's like a unicorn, isn't it? It's the fabled, legendary headless Mac that people have been waiting for 20 years for. 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Instead of the Mac Pro or the Mac Mini. It's like, this is definitely, this is a machine that a lot of people have been waiting for.
Yeah,
and in fact,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, because Graham wrote a really good opinion piece today that's on the site. It's leading the site, and it's about how the Mac is back. Like it's the best lineup in 10 years. He was saying that the last 10 years have been like a horrible wilderness for the Mac. Like it's been awful. But now, they've got the best lineup they've ever had.
I'm curious to see what happens with the Mac Pro, because it seems like no matter what they do to the Mac Pro, you just end up spending tens of thousands of dollars for a machine that is out of date within 3 years. It happened to the trash can Mac, and I would argue it's happened to the Mac Pro. I mean, people or the modular Mac Pro, right? The desktop version that they released, where you can change all the components inside. I guess it's not modular, but has user replaceable components, because people bought that machine, and not that long after, the Macs that were coming out with Apple Silicon were outperforming it in a lot of different ways. I mean, that machine has been obsolete for at least a year, I would argue, at least since the 2016 MacBook Pro came out. And so I'm curious to see what they do with the Apple Silicon Mac Pro, but I would be hesitant to buy that machine because it has a haunted past. Like, people keep buying it and it keeps being outdated really super fast, and then you can't sell it. So you basically have like a $15,000 machine that you can't do anything. Well, I mean, you could use it, but it's not as fast as something that might cost, 1/3 of the price. Was there anything else I was going to mention about the Mac Studio, or shall we move on? I think that pretty much covers it. Again, I will just reiterate, if you're looking to get one of these and you want the really powerful one, don't get the 64 core. It really is not worth the extra cost. It's so expensive to add the extra cores, and all you're getting for that $1,000 extra to go from $4,000 to $5,000, all you're getting are an extra, 16 cores? Yeah, 16 cores. Yeah. Did I do that math right? Probably not.
God knows. Don't do it, kids.
This is why I never do math on the fly on this show, because it's just too easy to make a mistake. Yeah, it's just not worth it to get the extra cores, because for that price tag, all you get are the extra cores, and that's not going to be your limiting factor.